today's meditation, I have taken a very familiar verse from the book of Prophet Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 5. യശയാ പ്രവാചകൻ്റെ പുസ്തകം 53-ാം അധ്യായം 5-ാം വാക്യം. ആൻഡ് വിത്ത് ഹിസ് സ്ട്രൈപ്സ് വി ആർ ഹീൽഡ്. അവൻ്റെ അടിപ്പിണരുകളാൽ നമുക്ക് സൗഖ്യം വന്നുമിരിക്കുന്നു. Prophet Isaiah is speaking about the suffering servant. To the Jewish mind, suffering was the consequence of sin and hence a mark of God's displeasure. That suffering could be a blessing is thoroughly a Christian concept. It was Jesus who posed this paradox both in his teachings and his life, that suffering could be a prologue to blessing. The Beatitudes are a series of such paradoxes. Blessed are the poor, the mourning, the maligned, and the persecuted. His life and death were the supreme examples of redemption through suffering. In literature, Aristotle speaks about catharsis brought about through suffering. Jesus brought it down from the height of a theoretical concept to a level of practical life. How can one person's suffering lead to another's wholeness? We can see some parallels in life to illustrate this principle. Now, with the progress of medical sciences, anesthetics make painless childbirth possible. Formerly, labor pain was the most excruciating pain a woman had to go through. But it resulted in bringing forth a precious human being into the world. In the world of external nature also, we see this principle illustrated. The worm struggles hard to come out of the pupa case, and the very struggle gives it strength and vigor to come out as a beautiful butterfly. All these pale into insignificance as we think of the sufferings of the Son of God that raised us all to the sonships and daughterhoods of God the Father. Admittedly, there is an element of mystery in this process of Jesus' identification with man on the cross. But in some sense, we can understand the words of the poet Edward Shillito. And I quote, "The other gods were strong, but thou wast weak. They rode, but thou didst stumble to a throne. But to our wounds, only God's wounds can speak, and not a God has wounds but thou alone." More than a child's grateful thought that it was his mother's pains that brought him into the world, we can thankfully say that his stripes give us healing and eternal life. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Thank you.